listen, you must have been reading my mind or you read the workbook. One of the two, because you hit it right on the head, because I was going to talk about that. When I say you can only be vulnerable to people who will appreciate or understand the type of vulnerability that you're going to offer, because vulnerability isn't the same in every situation. Vulnerability isn't the same as submission that we were talking about. So if somebody's in the past, they're not in the same place you are, because I believe you're in the future or you wouldn't be here. The future is all about working on who you are and where you are in your life and where you want to go. The past is something that we have experienced that's added to where we are right now. We can remember it, but we have to move on. So if somebody's still looking in the rearview mirror, then they are not headed the same place you are. So then that becomes a point where you have to understand whether or not you, depending on the relationship, want to continue in the relationship. So if it's a friend or a relative, like I talked about yesterday, that's negative, they always come with something, you could get that with somebody staying in the past. They only remember the you that you've moved away from. The you that was cool with them because they still are doing the same thing. Like if you were still that you, there wouldn't even be a discussion because they're still in that place and you've moved on. So if they're not willing to move with you, then you might have to move without them. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with them. It's just going to be different. There's some people that I might only contact once every quarter, like a business. I want to stay in contact with them because I love them and we have a relationship. But right now, where I am in my life, they don't fit because we aren't headed in the same direction. Doesn't mean I don't care for them. Now, if it's a closer relationship, like a mate, then you'd have to weigh if you are equally yoked. And I always say, and I posted this, equally yoked in relationships doesn't only mean religion, because the Bible says you should be equally yoked, and religion is the core of everything. But if I'm going to speak in today's vernacular, into the way that we live today, equally yoked also means, do you have a plan for your life? Speaking to the other person, do they want something more than where they are right now? Because I'm not going to stay where I am right now. My whole goal is to keep moving forward. And that's the only way that I can do the things that I want to do and have the environment that I want to live in. So that's where we might have to set up boundaries. So if this person is someone that you could say like, hey, you know what, I don't mind texting, or no, okay, I'm going to get specific. I don't mind talking about the past in context, but I'm a different person now. So I really have changed some of the things that I did back then, and I don't want to be reminded of it in this way. But we still cool as long as we can talk about something else. Or if it's more than that, where they keep reminding you of something in the past and they won't move forward because of something that happened or a way that one of you behaved in the past, then you might want to consider counseling or considering how you want to remain in the relationship. But I would say first, boundaries. First, start setting up boundaries. Self-care. Well, here's the thing. It's always a struggle when people notice that you are doing something different for yourself. It's always a struggle. It's like, you're not the same anymore, or you don't do this anymore. No, that's the point. I'm different. I don't do a lot of things anymore. Everything I did in the past got me to the point where I am now. And if I want to move forward, I have to do something different. That's it. And if you don't understand that the something different is going to require me to make changes in the way that I behave, because I'm already changing how I handle my emotions and the way that I think, then we might have to have a different type of relationship. And if you have been vulnerable to a person before and they have taken your vulnerability and they keep bringing that up from the past, that too is not good. because the whole point of vulnerability is releasing information or releasing access to people as you trust them. Because vulnerability, you can't be vulnerable all the way out, full out vulnerability when you first meet somebody or when you first start dating. It happens in increments because it's about trust. So if I can't trust that I tell you that I'm having a bad day and then I hear it from somebody else, like, oh, so I heard you're having a bad day. So and so says something, like, well, dang, I can't trust them with anything. That wasn't even anything to say. But now I know how to behave. So okay, I'll second guess next time I tell you something. But in an intimate relationship, it's more than just about time, because some people think like we've been together 10 years and he should know how I feel. And said, no, the length of time has nothing to do with the intimacy in the relationship. You could have been 10 years this far apart instead of year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get what I'm saying? So if you are at 10 and you're still this far apart, the communication isn't there. If you're not vulnerable, you're not free enough to share the real part of yourself. So if you're not free enough to share who you really are, then you don't give your mate the opportunity to show you how they can treat you, how they can take care of you, how they are not whatever if something bad happened in the past. Like I've been married before. So I had to get in my mind that that relationship was that relationship. Now I can know how to maneuver differently in my next relationship. I understand what my part was. So I can be vulnerable in ways that maybe I wasn't vulnerable in the first relationship. Or maybe I can hold back just dumping everything out on my next mate until we establish another level in our relationship. So I hope that answered your question. Good, 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 good. Well, like I said, I love boundaries. I love boundaries because that shows someone how to treat you or shows your standard. Okay. So if you have no boundaries, then somebody's going to do whatever they want to do. So let's talk about dating. As a young woman, my mother told me, and my dad, thankfully, my dad was there too. There was a standard for when I dated. They had to know something about the guy, either the phone number, the address, or something. If I wasn't going to share it, then I couldn't go. And when they came to pick me up, they'd have to come to the door. My dad would open the door and invite them in, and then I could greet them. I wasn't running out to the car because the horn beat. The other thing that my mom taught me was to want somebody who wants you. And it doesn't have to be a conversation about, do you like me? Are you seeing anybody else? That could happen, but they're going to show you. They're going to show you. Are you somebody who only demeans me and never have anything nice to say? Or, do you call me at the last minute to hook up or go out or whatever? Or are you not thoughtful of me? What is it? If I'm not getting treated the way that I want to be treated, then it's up to me to decide to stay or move on. But if you look at the men's playbook, they do just that. If they're not getting what they want, if you're not behaving how they want you to behave for whatever reason, it doesn't have to just be bedroom, but you could be more ratchet than they want, or you could be prissier than they want. Whatever it is, they don't have a conversation with you necessarily, but they cut it off and they end it. They don't waste time trying to mold you into the person that they want to be with. They'll go out and seek the person. But boundaries help create standards. And I think so many times women let down their standards because they feel like, oh, there's so many more women than men, and then the high value man. And I'm high value, period. I don't care. Don't nobody have to assess me. I'm not going online asking anybody's opinion. I'm high value. You know why? Because I said so. I think so. And I act that way. And I have a standard that will attract the right person. So if I'm not getting the right person, I'm not in the right place. The person is out there because I don't have to compromise my standard to be with somebody. So then it becomes, what is your standard? Is it a standard, or do you have this checklist that has all of this stuff on there that no one is ever going to be able to meet? He's got to be tall, dark, and handsome. Looks fade. I don't care about looks. I want to be attracted to the person. I'm attracted to my husband. I don't see anybody else. Tunnel vision. But I mean, that, you at least have to be attracted to the person. And then how do they treat you? How do they treat other women in their lives? Do they have a relationship, or did they have a relationship with their mother? Ooh, that's the one. Because if he didn't have a good relationship with his mama, the woman who carried him, brought him into this world and nursed him from her bosom and sacrificed and gave up, got these stretch marks and delayed dreams and all of this for you, and you treat her like trash, what you gonna do for me? That's not a headache that I would take on just for the sake of being with somebody. So, I mean, boundaries are great. We need to be realistic about what boundaries are. Are we creating boundaries to control someone else, or are we creating boundaries to make ourselves happy? Because if we're creating boundaries to control someone else, then that's not a boundary. That's something else. A boundary, it's what's going to help you. A boundary is a parameter that allows you to operate in your best way. A boundary doesn't interfere in your goal. A boundary is set so that there aren't any interferences. A boundary is set so that you can have respect and gain respect. And I wrote some notes down. Let me put my notes up here. You have to communicate boundaries. I think a lot of times people assume, well, he should know that I don't like that. Or I told him before and I don't like that. But that's not how it works. We cannot read each other's minds. And even if you told someone before in passing, I don't like hints, you better come straight with me or I don't get it. And even if you didn't come straight with me and you hinted at something, I ain't paying no attention to that. I ain't paying no attention to no hint. We grown. Say what you got to say. Get it off your chest or say it with your chest, whichever one. But you just better say it. So communicating boundaries. The thing that I hear most from women in dating situations where it doesn't go well, I can hear about it. I can see it on television dating shows. I have one particular one that I love. It comes on every Friday night and it's on right now and they in Miami. I think the relationships that don't work, or the women that get voted off first, are the ones that hit the men with a barrage of questions. Like, I know it's only a short period of time, but you have to be natural. My sister says being organic. Don't just say, so where do you see us? Where are we going? What are we doing? He don't even know you, girl. Just sit back and relax. So, I mean, part of communication and part of the emotional intelligence asset is to allow you to understand when is the right time. The self gut check lets you assess, like, okay, should I say this now, or should I wait till a better time? Is he ready for this conversation, or am I just in my feelings because I don't know what's going on? You get to assess, is this the right time to have a conversation, whether that conversation is about boundaries or whether that conversation is about vulnerability. Communicating it at the right time in the right way is the way that you get results. So not in an argument or not by text. We need to be real grown and straight up, face to face, one-on-one in an intimate time. And we talked about healthy and unhealthy boundaries. So a healthy boundary is a one that helps you move the needle forward. An unhealthy boundary is one that limits somebody else, or you're trying to control somebody else. Okay, so a boundary should be about you. And you know that, your boundaries can change. Your boundaries aren't the same all the time. There's nothing the same about you all the time. Goals change, the way you see the world changes the way you see yourself. We talked about self-confidence, the way you see yourself, the activities that you participate in and that you gravitate to, they all change. So boundaries change because you want to do different things. At one point, you didn't mind getting called at 10 o'clock in the night to hang out. Now, if somebody called me at 10 o'clock, it better be an emergency. I'm chilling. I'm not trying to go nowhere. I really don't want to talk on the phone, but I'm really not trying to go anywhere. So boundaries can change. So people change, boundaries can change, and you're in the midst of a change right now. I just want to congratulate you on at least getting your minds in motion to make change. There are two people that I started to talk about, those with a mindset that's ready to change, and then one with a mindset that's stuck. And a stuck mindset is just like the one Okila was talking about, one that stays in the past. But we're moving forward. So let's move forward. So at 6 o'clock, in just about 30 minutes, I'll be back with the full lecture on boundaries and vulnerability. And when I tell you this is my favorite topic, because I had to work so hard and still working through this process, that I still seek information about boundaries and vulnerability. I'm consistently working on this. And there is a way that you can start this so that you can create the life that you want. And it's a happy life. And you can do it unapologetically because you'll be setting up boundaries. All right. So thank you so much, my elite VIP. I really appreciate you being on today. And we'll see you at 6 o'clock. Figure it out. Oh, there we go.